श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगं प्रोक्तवानहम् अव्ययम् विवस्वान्मनवे प्राह मनुर्इक्ष्वाकवे ब्रवीत्. The personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. This supreme science was revealed through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hyetad uttamam. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katham etad vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tava charjuna Tanyaham Veda sarvani Natvam vetta parantapa. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember them all, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim svamadhistaya sambhavam yatma mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original and transcendental form. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyutthanam tadatmanam srujamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Parit Paritrānāya sadhūnām Vināshāya ca dushkritām Dharma samstapanārtāya Sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the practices of religion, I myself appear, millennium after millennium. Janma karma che me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma neti mam eti surjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Vita raga bhaya krodhaha manmaya mam upashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataha. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam tatheva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Partha. Kangshanta karmanam siddhim yayanta iha devataha Shipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Chaturvarnyam maya vrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram api mam vidya kartaram avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me, and although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha iti mam yobhijanati karma bhirnasa badyate. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. Evan gyatva kritam karma purverapi mumukshubhi Kuru karmeva tasmat tvam purvehi purvataran kritam. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajñatva mokshyase subhat. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gatihi. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Karmanya karmaya pashyed akarmani cha karmayaha sabuddhiman manushyesu sayukta krishna karma krite. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dakta karmanam tamaho panditam buddhaha. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashrayaha karmanyabhi pravrattopi neva kinchit karoti saha. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Nirashiryata chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvannapnoti kilbisham. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. Yadricha labha santushtaha dvandvatito vimatsaraha samah siddhava siddhau cha kritvapi nani bhadyate. he who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasaha yagyaya karatah karma samagram praviliyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Brahmarpanam brahmavihi brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmeva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Devam eva pare yagyam yogina pariyupasate brahmagnava pare yagyam yagyenevopajuvati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Shrotradin indriyanyanye samyamagnishu juhvati shabdadin vishayananye indriyagnishu juhvati. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. Sarvan indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yogagno juhvati jnana dipite. Others, who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses, offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Dravya yagyastapo yagyaha yoga yagyastatha svadhyaya jnana yagyascha yatayas samshito vrataha. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatha pare prana panagati rudva pranayama parayanaha. still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance. Practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Apare niyataharaha pranam praneshu juhvati sarve pyete yagya vidaha yagyakshapita kalmashaha. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. All these performers, who know the meaning of sacrifice, become cleansed of sinful reactions. Yagya shishtamrita bhujaha yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokostya yagyasya kutonya kuru sattama. And, having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. O blessed of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Evam bahuvidha yajñāha vitata brahmano mukhe karma jan vidditan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshyase. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Shreyan dravyamayad yajñāt jnana yajya parantapa sarvam karmakhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Partha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Yagyatva napunarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutanyasheshena drakshasyatman yato mayi. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. Api ched asi papebhyaha sarvebhya papakritamaha Sarvam jnana plaveneva vrijinam santarishyasi. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Yate dhamsi samidhognihi bhasma sat kurute juna jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasma sat kurute tatha. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. Nahi jnanena sadrasham pavitram iha vidyate tat svayam yoga samsiddhaha kale natmani vindati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. Shraddha valabhate jnanam tatpara samyatendriyaha jnanam labdva param shantim achirenadhigacchati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Agyascha shraddadhanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosti na paraha na sukham samshayatmanaha. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor the next. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibhadnanti dhananjaya. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work, O conqueror of riches. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hritam jnana sinatmanaha chitvainam samshayam yogam atishto tishta bharata. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight.